the world is changing, and what people are willing to put up with has changed, and what people value has changed as well. And also then, Joe, there's just all these push factors like how friggin' expensive, prohibitively expensive for many people just life in the US has got, or just how damn just bad value. And when you can just see where as a mobile person, what you can get for X in other places, it very quickly becomes a no-brainer.
Do you ever feel stuck in one place? Like life is stuck. Maybe you're stuck in your business, your work, your job, whatever it might be. Could be even a mindset thing. So do you feel stuck in one place? What if I told you that investing internationally into real estate internationally can actually help fund your next adventure, so life doesn't feel stuck anymore? You can now feel life as adventure and have it fuel, actually fund your adventures. That's what international real estate can do. This is exactly what I've been learning, and also why I invited the founder of Real Estate Trend Alert. His name is Ronan McMahon, and why this guy, he's living the life, and he literally is boots on the ground showing you here on this episode, but also a whole bunch of people, how these international real estate properties, these investments can turn into unforgettable experiences for yourself, but they actually help fund this and more. He breaks it all down in this episode. You're going to enjoy it. Let's go. Hey, before we jump into the episode today, I want to shout out one of our partners, HubSpot, and they have been tackling this customer service dilemma. They have a brand new service hub from HubSpot. It's a whole new platform that's combining service and support together in a single platform to deliver the best possible experience, not only for your customers, but for your team, by freeing up their time, because everything is AI powered. So this thing's a big win-win, and improves everybody's experience and has them coming back for more of what you got going on. Go check it out for yourself over at hubspot.com/service. Now on to the episode. Ronan, we're already going here.
We're doing it.
yeah. And it's awesome to have you here. Finally pin you down in one spot, right? You're the globetrotter of all globetrotters, it seems like.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Fabulous to be here. And I think, probably since we've been trying to get a window for this chat, I've been in parts of Mexico where I have a base, Portugal, and now I'm in Ireland. So I organize my year around 4 different bases that suit my lifestyle and suit my investments.
I like that. So that's a concept I'm curious of more, like this whole mindset of having bases around your lifestyle, times of the year, investments. I know a handful of others doing it.
Yeah. And relationship with one's taxman also, because it can be very favorable. So for example, for me, the Portugal component was integral to my tax planning. So by moving my tax residence to Portugal, I was able to pay taxes at, depending the type of income, at rates between 0 and 20%. Now it's not nearly as easy for an American to do that because of Americans' global obligations, but certainly the tax component can be very meaningful as well.
That's interesting. And that's where I'm sure the tax game gets complicated. Everybody do your own research with wherever you live, and what your goals are. I'm assuming you would know a lot more about that, but dive in more into the I guess these bases, because you have the tax base, and we'll just lightly touch here just to prime the conversation. What are some of these other components of your lifestyle, and how do you navigate the world throughout the year? How do you plan this out?
Yeah, so Joe, spring-like weather is just, I just feel so much better when you've got that warm sunshine, low humidity, that type of San Diego weather that, you guys have for most of the year. My energy, my ability to think clearly, my ability to function is just so much better. So my winter base is Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. Spring and fall, I'm in Portugal, on Portugal's Atlantic coast, where again, kind of mid 70s, sunshine, fresh breezes, wild ocean. And then summer time of year, I'm in Ireland, which is home. And then that's really important for, staying connected to friends and family. And I like to golf a lot. So, I'm really, you know, I'm really being in the place that's the best place for me in any given month. So, Ireland in winter is my idea of hell, but this time of year, high summer, it's absolutely fabulous. Cabo in January and February is just incredible. I just love it. I wouldn't want to be there in September and October when it's hot and humid. And then, being based in part of the year, for example, in Mexico, with easy travel, within the region, within the resort cities of Mexico, easy travel to Costa Rica, to Panama. That's a time of business intensity and energy that's real go, 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 go. And then at other times of the year, I like to be able to kind of step back and have more time to think and more time to plan. So it's actually a formula that's been pretty much, 20 years in the making for me, because when I started out on this journey of being an international real estate investor, which, necessitates a lot of travel, the first base I chose was actually in the Caribbean because I loved to go on vacation in the Caribbean. But I found very quickly I do not function well in that level of humidity in a normal work routine. So, it's been a juggling act, and it's been quite the puzzle to put together. But finally, I feel with this combination, I'm in the right place for me.
What led you to this point? Because, like you said, 20 years in the making, and I'm sure many people are listening, watching, thinking like, wow, okay, you have this dialed in, and I don't even know where to start. And I want to touch on that later on, but how did you get to this point maybe 20 years ago, to like, was it always like this? Did you have this pre-planned or?
No, absolutely not. So like straight out of college, I got into the corporate world, and corporate world for day job. And then I was just started buying rentals here in Cork, in my hometown and a couple of things happened at the same time. First of all, like, I just became so disillusioned with the corporate world, working in Dublin in on a global scale. It isn't a big city, but still a pretty big city, with all the costs and the headaches and the traffic and the parking, all that stuff. Life was feeling like a traffic jam, not a daily kind of adventure. Meantime, my property investments were doing incredibly well by pure chance, Joe, because I was in the right place at the right time. I was in Ireland in the early days of the Celtic Tiger, and values were just rising and rising and rising. And I started getting these unsolicited offers from brokers for prices for homes that were just more than I figured that they were worth. And so this kind of created this bit of an existential moment. Is a number of things. First of all, I don't see a long career for myself in the corporate world. I'm making all this money on paper on these kind of real estate deals, which I guess was my side hustle.
Yeah.
But what do you do with that? Because I started getting very concerned that the market was, going to get into difficult territory. So I started looking around for opportunity, and I came across a company called International Living, and I sat down with them and I met them, and I said, I'm in this situation where I want to explore international real estate opportunities. And they said, well, we're looking for someone to get on the road and start exploring these these international real estate opportunities. So, within a few weeks of that conversation, I was on a plane to Panama and to Nicaragua. And, since that was the start of it, and since then, I found initially I was, traveling back and forth across the Atlantic and around the world. And that started to become a drag. So that was when I introduced the idea of bases. So I don't travel transatlantic except for migrating between bases. And then I do all my travel that I need to do on this side of the world in the block of time when I'm here. Yeah. Travel in the Americas then is done from the other side of the world.
That's smart with the bases. It's almost like time blocking. I'm equating it to that and the way we work and switching costs. You're not bouncing all around the globe. You're methodically going to a region at a time.
It's exactly like that. I mean, there was a time when I was probably in Brazil. There were a couple of years that I was probably in Brazil 6 times, going every 2 months. That is a big drag. It's very, very difficult to keep everything you need to keep going to being a functioning human being. If you're missing weekends, you're missing life. And this way, allows focus. It allows me to really get the most out of that place that I'm in and enjoy it. And then as soon as, in the case of Ireland, as soon as that weather starts getting dreary, I'm on a plane and I'm out of here. But then the other thing too, is I've also started to really kind of savor slow travel. So for example, when I come from Portugal to Ireland, I drive and take a ferry. There's a fabulous ferry that runs from the north of Spain to Ireland. It's a 29-hour ferry. That might sound awful, but it's just wonderful. It's like a day spa. The food is amazing. You drive onto the ferry. You don't have to get out of your car. There's no TSA equivalent. There's no pat downs. It's all unbelievably civilized. Get out of your car, walk into a lounge, and great food. Sit there for the day, reading, working, doing whatever you do. Great night's sleep, and drive out in Ireland in my own car. And
True.
So these things, I think travel has become so much more open, but it's also become kind of quite difficult between how busy some of the world's top tourist destinations have become, how difficult air travel can be. But there are ways around it. A big thing I like to do as well is to be in places off peak times, like off for peak. Example.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to be in Portugal, where my home is on the beaches north of Lisbon this time of year, because it's just too busy. It's full of tourists. So I like to be back there in September when they're all gone, but the weather is still perfect.
Yeah, that's where my wife and I have done that really well throughout our relationship. Now that we have kids, it's slowed down a little bit, but always off peak. Being entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
Well, we don't need to go in the height of summer or these holiday periods where everyone else is out of school or off of work. You have that freedom to pick and choose, and I think
and looking for the hack. And then the other component to that too is I rent my place on the beach in Portugal in July and August. Perfect. And it rents phenomenally well. When I had a mortgage on the property, just by renting in those 2 months covered the mortgage for the entire year, my golf club dues on the 2 courses there, my insurances, my HOA, literally everything.
Wow.
Plus great property manager who takes care of everything. I leave, hand the keys, I come back and take the keys out of the lockbox, and everything is as I left it, except all the costs for the entire year are covered.
And is that a pretty common scenario, what you just described, that others can take advantage of? Maybe not all in Portugal, but wherever else they might find as a great getaway.
it's a scenario that if you buy right and buy in the right place, that's achievable. Certain places, Joe, have extremely hot peak season rental markets, in particular parts of Europe that are very heavily dependent on school holidays for the vacation rental market. And there are quite a few places where just by renting in those summer months, you can cover all your costs, including mortgage, and have a great vacation home that you get to use when you want to use it, not when it's crazy busy. So again, kids complicate all of this, but for folks who are before kids are in retirement, are empty nesters, this opens up so much opportunity. And
Yeah.
then, of course, there's the pure investment kind of portion of my portfolio where I'm buying condos and homes in destinations like this purely for capital appreciation and rental income. So this is a full spectrum. You could invest in real estate in one of these places purely for personal use, or as a place that you might never or almost never visit.
Got it. That's okay. Thanks for putting us in like kind of two different buckets, which I do want to go down a little deeper in a moment here. But I want to go back to you said it, this one line I wrote it down is this lack of daily adventure that you did not feel when you're in that corporate world, in Dublin. And I think a lot of people can relate to that if they're still in corporate, listening, watching here, or if they're in their job or sorry, their business themselves, maybe they're feeling a little stuck or doing the same thing. And you said it kind of felt like missing life, and that when you change it up, you can actually allow more focus time. You're maybe changing, like you said, the slow travel. It allows you to
Yeah.
experience life more. Like, do you see is that a pretty common thing with people who you work with? Because you mentor a lot of these folks and you obviously communicate all the time with investors. Is that like a pretty common thing that people?
It is. It is. So, there is a huge desire for adventure to embark on a journey of, an adventure of positioning ourselves and our money ahead of where the world is going in these beautiful places. Like, I mean, imagine positioning yourself in La Jolla 80 years ago before anyone discovered, and being, the first group of people out there to stand on the cliff and say, wow, this is beautiful. People are going to like this. They're going to come. So we're going to put ourselves and our money there ahead of where the people are coming from. In terms of, I guess, subscribers to my real estate trend alert publication, they come in. There's a very broad spread. A lot of them are still very, very busy professionals who are surgeons and who are lawyers or who are executives you know who are looking to the future. They want to have exposure to international markets. They want to see the type of rental yields we can get. So they're following this kind of macro adventure and setting themselves up for when their lifestyle is different. But a lot of them are still, really working full on jobs. And again, this is something that they do with some of their time and money.
Got you. Yeah, and they're thinking either maybe that it's a personal, like back to the investment buckets. You have that personal, maybe more lifestyle approach, or potentially they're doing this for rental income. So that's supplementing whatever they're doing currently.
Exactly. I'd add, a lot of these are real estate folks who've done extremely well from real estate in their hometown, their home state, their home country, but they just see just the dearth, just the lack of opportunities in so many places now. I mean, in my opinion, across so many investment categories, everything seems to be expensive, but there are places in the world that you can go. And I'm not talking about complete backwaters. I'm talking about places that are seeing huge surges in population, places that are open and welcoming and are attracting, mobile folks, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're retirees, whether they're digital nomads, whether it's people who can do a job remotely. There are places right across the globe that are stunningly beautiful and are attracting people in, and they're just creating demand for the type of real estate that we can front run and own.
Well, I want to talk about some of those places just to call them out because I know you mentioned them briefly. The three locations you're looking at least in this time, and if you follow Real Estate Trend Alert, which I do and I highly recommend, so I'm gonna shout that out for you, Ronan. There is so what you're sending are, it feels like daily. I don't think they're daily, but they're pretty often these little reports essentially in your email, and it's like it's either you or someone on your team, it seems like, that treks around and gives a report of the status of some location or multiple locations, and it just keeps you in the know. And I've learned so much by following those emails. I haven't yet invested in a property, but I know I will. I'm already chatting about with my wife, and you're the place I'm going to go to, the source of truth. So I want to talk about these places, and also want to hit on what you think. Obviously, Trend Alert. I mean, you're all about the market trends and future. I'm curious of, the global trends, some maybe key things that us as business owners, entrepreneurs should be aware of, when dipping into this. So I don't know where you want to start, if it's location, these three, or the trends.
Yeah, I mean, I think location is a great place to start because that kind of segues into the trends that are driving those locations.
Cool.
So, just in terms of just to kind of maybe chronologically work back from the three most recent big deals we've had in retail. So these are members only opportunities where I make a deal with a developer on behalf of our group for special members only pricing and terms on a home or a condo in a new best in class project.
And that's basically the benefits of that membership, right? Like that's what you just framed.
Exactly. On top, of course, of all the research and the scouting trip reports, which, is all, applicable whether whether you want to go there and find your own deal, or whether you want to be part of a REFA deal, or whether you want to use it for whatever purposes you want to use it. But working backwards, we've had Montenegro, Panama City, Panama, and Guanacaste in Northern Costa Rica. So Montenegro is a very interesting one. So Montenegro is this tiny little country that's just borders Croatia. The area of Montenegro, the Bay of Kotor that I'm focused on, it's just an hour from Dubrovnik, which is just a tourism mecca in southern Croatia. But this whole region, has only really been normalized in the past couple of decades of the former Yugoslavia, quasi-communist, then breakup and civil war and chaos, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
But once things stabilized in Croatia, first development started coming down the Adriatic, following the Croatian coastline, and values went through the roof. So put simply, this is a stunningly beautiful Adriatic coastline, as picture perfect as anywhere in Italy. Stunning, but it was off the radar because it was the former Yugoslavia and then a war zone, and then had to normalize. But as soon as it normalized, development came and values absolutely exploded. And now Croatia and that coast is completely maxed out.
Hey, I'm pausing this episode really fast to shout out another show you should follow. It's called This Old Marketing. It's hosted by Joe Pulizzi and Robert Rose. These guys are expert content marketers. This show's also on the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. Now, Joe and Robert on this show, they break down all of the latest content marketing trends and things you got to know as a business owner to attract and retain customers. They break down old marketing strategies called This Old Marketing Examples from the past and apply it to the now. So super useful. It is entertaining. They love to rant. Joe and Robert do. So I always love a good rant. And just go check it out yourself. Go check out their latest episode. Listen to This Old Marketing wherever you get your podcasts. Are you tired of the hassle of building sales funnels? I totally get it. I've been there. You started your business not to be chained to your laptop all day. You built it for freedom. And thankfully, there is an all-in-one platform that makes it easier for you so you can focus on attracting customers online. The platform is called Kartra, and it gives you all the tools you need to grow your business. The best part is Kartra comes stocked with all the done-for-you campaigns, so you don't have to worry about thinking about building from scratch. Everything is designed, connected, and written for you already. It also leverages AI to help you with some of this writing. All you got to do is just customize this to your liking, and then boom, you got a fully built sales funnel for you. This is marketing made easy, so go try it out for free. 30-day free trial over at hustleandflowchart.com/Kartra will get you there. So again, that's hustleandflowchart.com/KARTRA.
To give you an example, last summer I was in both Split and Dubrovnik, and you just couldn't move in those cities.
Really?
It was like Venice, just overrun. But development largely stopped at the border between Croatia and Montenegro in its current state is a country that's less than 20 years old. It's joined NATO. It's an EU accession country. It's pretty much met all the criteria for joining the EU. It's kind of strategically positioned at the heart of Central Europe.
Sure.
It's 2 hours to get pretty much anywhere in Western Europe, but it's also really close to Dubai, to Israel, to Turkey, and it's attracting this jet set of mega yacht owners. It's also created a whole raft of tax incentives. So it's just mind-blowingly beautiful with these giant fjords, beautiful Adriatic coastline, high mountains, picture-perfect old towns. So basically, folks are coming primarily at the highest end of the market. So mega yacht owners. There's a lot of parallels happening today with what happened in Monaco, as Monaco took off a century ago. And so what we're doing as members of Real Estate Trend Alert is we're positioning ourselves ahead of that, what I believe will be an explosion. We're buying in a community that's a very, very rare thing, because Joe, what's happened with Montenegro is all the development is coming in at the top super high end of the market, $4 or $5 million condos, hotels that are $1,500 per night and up. But there's this overlooked segment, which I call the ordinary rich, which is, I would say a lot of your audience,
Sure.
Mobile entrepreneurs who are doing well, but know the value of a buck, but are still looking for that infinity edge pool overlooking the bay, who are looking for the spa facilities and the high-end finishes. So we've been able to get in and buy condos, buy 2-bedroom condos from 350,000 euros with incredible views to the bay, that's got those full hotel amenities, that's 5 minutes from the airport, 11 minutes from the highest end marina, 8 minutes from the old town, and all in a kind of a Tuscan villa design feeling.
It's beautiful.
So incredible.
I'm looking at pictures as you're talking. I'm like,
Yeah. So that's, that, and Montenegro is a place that's attracting like mobile people. It's this thing, Joe. There's internationalized places now that are just sucking people in from right across the globe.
Yeah.
Like Panama City, another example, and another example of a recent deal. Panama is somewhat different in that it's attracting and sucking in individuals, but mostly it's drawing big corporates. Panama is open arms, welcoming, safe, secure, all aspects for big multinational corporations. And again, it's an internationalized place that does well in times good and times bad. And why I say times bad, this is really, really important because, for example, with Panama has done extremely well from the implosion of Venezuela. So what happens when, one of the neighboring countries gets into difficulty? The business community ups and leaves. The multinationals that had bases there up and leave. The next wave of multinationals that were considering where they go to Panama. So Panama has just emerged as the regional multinational hub, again, coming on top of its kind of historic banking and trade industry. And there we've been able to buy in the past number of months luxury condos in an absolutely standout community that's right on the water, that's got these incredible views to both the ocean and also to the city high rise, and with full resort amenities. So the idea is the whole place feels like a resort, but you're in the heart of Panama City. You're minutes from amazing restaurants, amazing nightlife. It's all on your doorstep. And the type of rental yields you can see from, even just renting long term in these places. So, in many of the resort destinations, the preferred play is a short term rental play. But even renting long term, you can see gross rental yields of 12 to 14% just on a standard long-term rental lease. And Joe, your holding costs in these places are just a fraction of what your viewers and listeners will be accustomed to, because property taxes are they're close to nothing. It's just not a thing. I think my biggest property tax bill anywhere is about $500 a year. It's just not a thing. Your holding costs are a tiny fraction. Even with that Portugal condo I mentioned, I looked at this at the time when I had a mortgage. My mortgage plus my taxes plus my HOA fees was less than what I figured the property tax alone in California would be. And this is in a place where the California parallels are all abound. That stretch of coast north of Lisbon is considered to be Europe's California.
Wow.
So there's a lot to be said for it. Plus the whole, you could construct a lifestyle that's like a self-funding almost vacation just by owning a few of these properties. So, for example, right now, and again, these are, let's call it the vacation home, the vacation homes I have, as opposed to the portfolio that's pure investment. My condo in Cabo, that's my winter base. I rent that long term for the months I'm not there. That that generates $3,500 per month. This time of year, the beach home in Portugal is, generating whatever, maybe 6 or 7 grand per month. And, plus all the maintenance is taken care of. So you could easily, by owning a small number of these properties, just move between your properties at the time of year you want to be there. And, just have them rented out when you're not there. Again, with very high quality tenants, very professional management. You get the property back the way you handed it over.
This is great because, and I love the fact that you just said self-funding, basically your lifestyle or vacations. If you have a handful of these and go back to the beginning when you talked about your home base concept, I mean, all of us can relate and think of, all right, what would our future home base, what can it look like? What have I dreamed of? Well, it's possible. And there's so many locations like you're mentioning here that I was unaware of. And of course, that's what your job is and your teams is to locate those. But then there's like this bigger map that if you put them together and start doing the math, which you do really well of lining out in those alerts as well as right here, now it becomes more of a reality. Like it seems like it's, we can, like you said, what's it, about $300,000 to get into one of these Montenegro, you said.
Yeah. So Montenegro for a 2-bed was about 350,000 euros, so closer to $400,000.
Okay.
But the $300,000 is a pretty good number. $300,000 to $400,000 for a quality, condo in a great location, including right on the beach. That we have a true beachfront opportunity in Playa del Carmen in Mexico coming up in the next couple of months that will come in at under 300,000 or under 400,000, but it's true beachfront and in the heart of Playa del Carmen,
Right.
which is one of the most dynamic rental markets that you'll find anywhere. And then Cabo, which is just south of where I'm talking to, where you are, that's a place with an incredibly strong long-term rental market as well. So I mean, condos like that condo I mentioned that rents for $3,500 per month long-term, that condo we were able to buy it with my group for $328,000.
Okay.
So that's a few years back. But again, time and time again, by in the right location at the right time in the right deal, and you can be set up for really, really strong capital appreciation and these types of rental yields. And again, Guanacaste in Northern Costa Rica, that's another destination that's just seeing a huge influx of folks at the moment. It's got this little airport in Liberia, which, that airport opened up in the early 90s, and that was the catalyst for the first wave of development to come to that part of Costa Rica. Now that airport is in the middle of dramatically expanding its routes, where it's taking flights from. And I just flew through it a few months back, and on that day it had 17 flights to different destinations in North America.
Wow.
So
Okay.
folks are coming for vacation, but Joe, the vacation of today might be nothing like the vacation of 40 years ago. A vacation of today could be 6 weeks with the family and the laptop and, maybe a trip back to the office for a few days in the middle, or maybe not. Just the whole, everything has moved around in a way that, won't surprise any entrepreneurs or any of your listeners, because this is how we work and this is how we're wired. But this is spreading now into the corporate world where, folks are just upping and leaving and working from from Costa Rica or wherever indefinitely or for a period with or without their boss's even knowledge. This is
That's
this
true.
is the reality. It's like, if I need to be in the office, I'll get on a plane and fly to San Francisco and show my face and try and hide the suntan. So the world is changing, and what people are willing to put up with has changed, and what people value has changed as well. And also, then, Joe, there's just all these push factors, like how friggin' expensive, prohibitively expensive for many people, just life in the US has got, or just how damn just bad value. And when you can just see where as a mobile person, what you can get for X in other places, it very quickly becomes a no-brainer.
I mean, so this is, I love that you bring this up because I own a home here in San Diego, just being up front here, and there's things that we've been looking to do, and I think we're looking to rent out this home because it's high demand, it's a great area, it's good space, but then we're thinking, where do we go? And that's the
Yeah.
big question. And I'm imagining, because I want to get to, before we kind of wrap this up, because you have a wealth of information I want to make sure people get into as well with Rita or any of the free, the books and guides that you have, is getting started, and like, let's say someone does own a home right now, or they have, and let's just say in the US, and I love your perspective, the fact that you're not from the US or in it. So I'm curious of like your raw, honest thoughts about the trends of the US, or what you can capitalize here potentially to make a move, or at least start adding in that international real estate angle, leveraging maybe something you already own here in the US.
Yeah. I mean, I think fundamentally the trends in the US aren't any particularly different. There'd be a different take in terms of political rhetoric and all that type, but it's fundamentally the same, whether it's Ireland or the UK or Australia or Canada or the US. Everywhere is becoming more and more bureaucratic, more and more prohibitively expensive, more and more just crowded, and scarcity of just basic things, whether that's housing or whether it's access to a family doctor, or
Mm-hmm.
all these things are, it's consistent. And just the housing shortages and scarcity and the societal pressures that's creating, it's just very, very difficult for people right across the developed world. And then you have, you mentioned about having kids, then you could hop on a flight and go to Guanacaste in Northern Costa Rica, and you could pick from your choice of, multiple international schools that will specialize in the US system or the French system or the German system or the British system or an international system. And you can just live a different type of life, where you're surfing in the morning before work, or you're surfing after work, where you're eating fresh food that comes from a tree in your yard or the street vendor next door, rather than like a bunch of grapes,
Covered in
having to
crap.
mortgage your house,
Yep. Yep.
And like this is a recurring theme, even among folks who have no issue, who have no financial constraints. It's just, this is just a bad deal, and I think I can do better by putting myself elsewhere. And Joe, in terms of how to get started, if your listeners drop by my website, ronanmcmahon.com, and if they pop in their email address, we'll send them a free chapter or a couple of chapters of most recent book. If you
Nice.
like what you're reading, a good place to get started is just to pay the $10 or however much we're charging now for that book, and to get on our free e-letter, which is called Overseas Dream Home. But plug in the email address there, and we'll start sending emails. But the book is a great place to start, because what I've done with this most recent book is to pretty much condense my lifetimes of experience in scouting destinations and figuring stuff out. And it was it was effectively created to be the answer to the question, where do I start? How do I get started?
Good.
Read this book and we'll get you up to speed.
Yeah, and that book, I'm on the page right now, and I'll make sure I link it, or Jacob will probably put the link visibly and then in the show notes and description. But yeah, the big book of profitable real estate investing. Looks like you can get the free chapter of that,
And it's quite a mouthful. That's why I call it my most recent book.
oh, I got you.
I didn't practice how saying it would go on podcasts when we named
I had to
it.
slowly say it just to get it correct.
Yeah.
The fact that it's all about profitable real estate investing. Yeah, and it's a great place to start. So I'm going to pick that up myself, because I've been learning from your real estate trend alerts. And yeah, go ahead.
You can get that in the members area.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the Rita website. So
Beautiful. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Ronan, it's opened my eyes to a lot what's possible out there, and I know new things are just going to keep popping up. That's how the trends work, and it's all cyclical, right? And it just seems like you're getting ahead of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, none of what we're doing is new. I mean, I think it was the pioneer real estate investors, you know, uh, basically the idea was just, figure out where the people are going and buy the land ahead of where they get there. And that's what we're doing. We're figuring out where people are moving to, and where this overlaps with stunningly beautiful places, because I love the idea of being able to be in the short-term rental, resort rentals type business, as well as long-term, and buying the best real estate ahead of that, just like what happened in California, just like what happened in Florida. And now there are other parts of the world where those same trends are playing out, and that'll just continue for as long as planes are flying
Yeah,
and
seriously. And the
and our
ferries are
world
going.
is spinning.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just to wrap it up, like if you were to provide, let's say, some kind of mindset shift, like something that, now we have this information, we have what's available to all of us, literally everyone watching, listening. What do you think is there a shift or something you can leave us with here that allows someone to feel that freedom to start succeeding, or at least make the first step into this space?
Yeah. I mean, I'd embrace a bit of travel and a bit of a trip. Pick one of these destinations that I'm writing about.
Yeah.
See if it's a place. Just go visit, rent an Airbnb for a month. Run the numbers yourself on what owning a rental like that would look like. Assess what the lifestyle would be, and then ask yourself the question, would owning a place here make my life better or less? Would I get use? Would it be purely motivated by investment? But that's the real key thing. You don't want to spend years academically
Yeah.
assessing this from a distance. Get on a plane, pick a location based on research, get on a plane, see how it works for you. But and also see how the investment opportunity looks when you're on the ground. And yeah, and then see if this can be part of your life.
I like it. So feel it, get yourself in there, start actually putting yourself in the mode. And I like the fact of do some homework while you're there sitting in it. Be like, what if this were mine? And what if I had this?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, we're all entrepreneurs here. We test products, we consume products, and I mean, how do you really understand what a product is if you haven't taken it for a test drive? So that's why, if you're going to be in the business of offering short-term rentals in Cabo San Lucas, maybe you should go and check it out, and maybe even spend different weeks in different parts of town to see what the experience is like being downtown versus being in a resort, being on the Pacific side versus being on the Sea of Cortez side. And that's where you really learn, that in my world, in my beat, it's a true boots on the ground thing. That's the true value of what we do. And anyone considering going down this route, I'd strongly urge them to follow suit.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you for the invitation, because I think that's what you're giving everyone here, Ronan. Appreciate your time and your boots on the ground for all of our doing,
Thank you so much, Joe. And hopefully I'll see you in one of my bases in the not too distant future. I think maybe Cabo would be the easiest one to get you down to.
Cabo's a couple hours from here. That's no problem at all. It's so close. And a lot of this is to all of us. So I'll meet you there, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.